Melanie asks, how do you finally go no contact? That is a great question. I think it depends on the person and on the dynamic and kind of on the situation, and there's a lot of different factors at work there. So I think going no contact, assuming that you don't have to stay in contact with them, assuming that you don't have children that they have any type of rights to, or, you know, kind of what have you, but assuming that you really can go no contact, I think what helps is to try to sever those emotional bonds as much as possible. So to really see their behavior clearly for what it is. And I think a good way to do this is, well, first off, it helps to have terms, like words for the different concepts for the things that you're experiencing. So terms like, gaslighting, or kind of the different types of verbal abuse out there, or knowing what's crazy making behavior and those kinds of things. So when we do start experiencing it, we're not so lost in confusion as to what's wrong. Is it me or is it them? Is this a problem? Am I too sensitive? Am I making a big deal out of nothing? Am I perceiving this accurately? Like, there is no wondering, because once you know the terminology, you're like, oh, bingo, like that's what I'm experiencing. So I think education in large part really does help to see the situation clearly, so you can move forward and breaking those emotional ties and doing what's healthy for you, so that you can move yourself to a place where you're safe and sane. Another thing that I think really helps is to write down what is problematic, because that will help cut through that fog of cognitive dissonance. And cognitive dissonance is kind of in a nutshell, but it's when we have an emotional investment in a situation. Well, it's mental distress. Okay, it's a $10 term for mental distress, and it's the mental distress we have in a situation, especially if we have an emotional investment in it being a certain way. So if we're experiencing two conflicting thoughts about the same topic at the same time, we're going to have distress about that. So if we have the thought of this person, especially if the thoughts conflict with our action that we want to take. So if we have the thought of this person is abusive, but the action is, boy, I really do miss them, I really want to go back with them, then the other thought might be, well, you know, you're going to have to somehow normalize that abusive behavior and minimize and justify it so it's not so bad, so that that thought of, well, nobody's perfect, this isn't so bad, it could always be worse, that new thought that we take on now lines up with the action. So kind of in a nutshell, cognitive dissonance is when we start justifying things. We start justifying things in order to move forward in a way that we want to move forward with. And it happens to all of us, and it happens really, really fast. Especially, again, like, if the stronger the emotional investment we have in a situation, the stronger the cognitive dissonance is that we'll experience it. And it's exhausting and it's crazy making. And so when people are continually saying, like, well, I'm staying because I love this person, or what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I leave? Why am I still so attached to this person who treats me so terribly? Or people will say, I watched your videos, and I thought that at first that you were really bitter and jaded, and you were just upset about your ex. And then they realize, they're like, oh my gosh, no, this is what's really going on in my relationship too. This really is a problem. But then if their ex starts love bombing and all of the future faking and promises of change, if they want to believe all that because they want the relationship to work, they'll get sucked back in. And then when that behavior surfaces, right, the problematic behavior surfaces, which it's going to, until they actually deal with the underlying issues that's causing that behavior. But once that behavior surfaces, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I fell for it again. I feel so stupid. What's wrong with me? Because hindsight's always 20/20. And the reason hindsight's always 20/20 is because we tend to be so far enough out of a situation that we're not so heavily emotionally invested in it. So hindsight is clear vision because we're already down the road. So it's easy to look back and be like, oh my gosh, these are the red flags that I overlooked. This is what was going on. I can't believe this person lied to me. I can't believe I bought these excuses. And you just see everything for what it is. And that's why. So I guess part of it, so what I'm saying is expecting cognitive dissonance to happen because it does happen. It's a part of it. It's one of the many reasons people tend to get back in these relationships for an average of 7 times before they finally leave for good. So to prepare yourself for that cognitive dissonance, because we all start feeling nostalgic and we're like, oh, maybe, the good times were really good. Maybe things aren't so bad. Maybe we can make this work, kind of given enough, church or therapy or rehab or love or understanding or patience or what have you, this person can be fixed. So a way that's worked for me and that it's worked for other people to help kind of cut through that is to make a list of everything they've done. And so when you do start missing that person, you can reread that list. And I think you'll find it's amazing how much of that you will have blocked out. And you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, like this person lied. They said that they loved cats, but they're like viciously allergic to cats. Like they don't like cats at all. Or this person said that they went to law school and they never even graduated from high school. Like it's amazing the stuff that we kind of gloss over or forget if we don't want to see it or think about it. So it's a good idea to write down all of that stuff, big stuff, little stuff, medium stuff, and then read it. That'll help you to stay no contact a lot easier. And then support groups. I highly recommend support groups. There's lots of them out there. So mine, I have a couple. You can go to my website, thriveafterabuse.com, and there's a support group there. And then there's also a link to my group on Facebook as well from there. But I guess I always encourage people, join a handful of them. And there's quite a few on Facebook. You can find other ones on the internet. And just because it really does help to be around a bunch of people that they get it and they've been there, they've done it, or they're going through it. So when you're having those low moments of, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? I'm really missing this person. I really want to reopen contact. What if I was wrong? What if they're not a narcissist? What if they can change? What if this time is different? Then you can go to the group and they can help you walk through it. Lots of love to you guys. You are not alone. You are not crazy, and you really can move forward and heal from this.